Hey guys, our family of customers love our YOLOtek products that pull power off your cranking battery on the Power Stick 53 or the Power Stick 20, convert that power into two USB ports, so then you can power your camera, your GoPro, your VIRB, DJI, Tactacam, whatever camera you got, all day long so you can always be recording. But one feature that they've been asking about is on the camera itself, and it's called looping. And looping is really cool, so you can go out on the water the entire day and only save the good video. Instead of just putting a big SD card in it and recording the entire day, you can only save the good video. And that's a pretty cool feature. And they asked us to make a really detailed video. So this is advanced looping, and it starts now. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do with looping is don't do it when you're out in a tournament for the very first time. Don't go out on the water and try looping out there. You want to try looping right in your house, get really accustomed to it, and then go out on the water. So first thing you'll need is a camera. Today we're going to use a GoPro Hero 8. You also need a wall charger, a USB cord. Next, you'll need an alarm clock or a wristwatch, something that has a time on it. It's actually kind of good to have a second hand on it, but time so that when we aim the camera toward the clock, then you'll be able to, in the video, see the time moving by and exactly where you are. And finally, we need a couple fish. So just take out a sheet of paper, write fish 1, fish 2, fish 3, fish 4, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is start the camera up. And again, we're using a GoPro Hero 8 Black right now, but this goes true with almost every action camera on the market. Okay, let's set this up for looping. So right now the settings you can see are set on standard, which is 1080 60 wide. 1080 is the resolution, 60 is the frames per second, wide is the point of view. So we'll just click on that, and then we'll go down and look for looping, which it's not there. We actually have to add it. So you click on the plus, then you mode upper left hand corner, select that. And the second setting is looping. The very bottom one is slow-mo, but looping is what we're looking for. Okay, so it's on looping now. And right now it's set on 5-minute interval. So bass guys typically like 5 minutes. Northern and musky guys like 20 minutes, and saltwater guys like 60 minutes. So it really depends on how long your fight is and what you're after. And then again, 1080 60 you can control, and you control all the other. We always want to have low light on, and hyper smooth is set to high. Okay, so that looks great. Let's save it, upper right hand corner. And it wants us to name it. And at the very bottom you'll see a setting called looping, and we'll save. Now in the very center you can see looping 1080 60 5-minute intervals. So this is 5-minute looping set up. So the next thing we want to do is we want to erase the SD card or reformat the SD card. So this is simulating first thing in the morning. We make sure the SD card is clear. There's all the videos removed off of it. Then we simply slide down for preferences and then scroll to the bottom, click reset. Okay, and before we hit format SD card, want to make darn sure all the video is off this SD card, okay? So all the video is off, but when we get out on the water in the morning, we always want to hit format. And we're formatting the SD card now, so wiping out anything that's on it. And we're going to do that again. What we found is if you reformat that card twice, very few issues on it. And that is set. Scroll up to the top. Okay, and we are ready now. It's going to take our clock and set the camera right in front of it. And then we're going to simulate that we're out on a Power Stick 53 or Power Stick 20. So there's our brick. We'll plug into the wall. take our USB cord, plug it in the wall, and then plug the camera in so it's getting constant power just like it is on YOLOtek gear. And for your first test in the house, we want it just set up just like that. Constant power, 5-minute looping, and pointed right at a clock. We're going to hit the shutter button. You hear the one beep. You can also see the red light is blinking. It's recording right now. Now for the first test, we're going to catch a fish. So we're pretending now that out on the water, it's been about 30 seconds. You know, you made the first, second, third, fourth cast, and guess what? Boom, we caught a fish. So we reel that in, show it to the camera, scream like Iaconelli, Jimmy Houston kiss it, whatever you want to do, put it in the live well or release it. And then we're going to hit the shutter button again. There's one beep. Beep, beep, beep. That's 3 magic beeps. That just saved the first 5-minute looping. Now, it was less than 5 minutes. That's okay. That's anything less than 5 minutes will save the entire thing. We were only recording for about 30 seconds. Now what we want to do is take a look at that video. So this is our first test here, and it's also the first test we do before we go out on the water at the boat ramp. We slide up. Here's the gallery view. And now you can see the first piece of video is 42 seconds long, and we sometimes call it a segment. GoPro calls it a chapter. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to start playing immediately, and we want to play the entire 42 seconds to make sure before we go out on the water that this camera has recorded one small clip, and that tests everything, the SD card, the camera, the software, everything. So we'll just hit play. And then right here is a little scroll. We can click on that, and you can scroll along. Now guess what? So now you can actually scroll through and see when we cut that fish. Pretty cool, huh? And that's the end of our clip. So that looks good. And now we're going to take a look at it on the phone, on the app. View media, and you can see on the app, the GoPro app on the phone, there's one clip for 42 seconds. So now we've seen the 42 second on the camera, we've seen the 42 second on the app, and now we're going to remove the SD card and go look at it in the computer. Okay, now we're going to insert the SD card. And here it is on the computer desktop. We happen to be using an Apple laptop, but whether this is a Windows machine or if you're going to use an iPad Pro or a phone, you can do the same kind of setup here. So we're going to open up, and you can see inside there's several files. The first one's DCIM, which is digital camera images, so that's where GoPro puts them. Then a couple little miscellaneous files and a couple other things, no big deal there. So now what we want to do is on your desktop, we want to put in a file, and we're going to name it so we're calling this one 2020-05-29 loop test. And the reason we do that is so that if we have a lot of GoPro files, we can keep track of them. We like the naming convention year, month, day, and then what is happening in the video is nice to be able to go back and find it. So now we're going to open up the DCM, and then inside there's the files for the day, which is 100 GoPro. And there it is. Now we have 3 different files in there. We have our MP4, which is the video file. We have the THM, which is a thumbnail. and we have the LRV, which is the low resolution video. GoPro uses that in the camera and stuff so that you can quickly go from clip to clip instead of it loading the big file, because that 42 seconds is 238 megs. But what we're going to do is we're going to select all, and we're going to copy it down. And you see that copying, and that was quick. Okay, now we're going to eject that SD card. And now the files that are on the SD card have not been touched. We're only going to touch the ones that are on the computer. Once we get everything done on the computer the way we want it to do, then we'll trash the stuff on the SD card. We'll clean it for the next time we go out on the water. Okay? So there's the MP4, which is the video file, the thumbnail, and the low-res video file. Well, we don't need either of those two, so we'll get rid of those. Now, if you're a little nervous about that, you could put another folder and keep them for a little while until you get comfortable. But since we're not using the GoPro software, all we really need is the video file. And once again, we're going to take a look at that.
You hear the one beep.
And there I am
you can
talking.
Also see.
And I'm going to scroll. I'm going to pause that, and I'm just going to scroll through here. And what happens at the end of the 30, 40-second clip? We caught a fish. Okay? So now we feel very good. We saw the file on the camera. We saw the file in the app on the phone. And we saw the file on the desktop. So let's go back and do test number 2. Okay, so now we're going to set up for test number 2. So we'll put the SD card back into the camera. Sometimes it's a little easier to get into the SD card with the battery out. And we'll put our power door back in. So on the Hero 8, we keep everything locked in place. And we'll plug it in. Okay, just as a reminder, we're still on 1080 65-minute looping. And we're ready for test number 2. And test number 2 is our 60-minute test. Okay, so all we're going to do is we've already caught that fish. We either put it in live well or released it. And now we just want to immediately hit the shutter button and go back to fishing, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to mess around with all this stuff. We want the technology to fade in the background. And we're going to go for 60 minutes. You can see the time on the clock right now. And with the magic of a television, we'll see you in 60 minutes. Okay, welcome back. It's been a little over 60 minutes. We're getting close to it. And just want to kind of walk through where we're at on this second test. And we're getting ready to catch fish number 2. So when we hit the shutter button for 5-minute looping, we're going to end up with a 5-minute looping. So each one of these fingers represents a 1-minute segment or 1-minute chapter of what GoPro calls it. So it's actually going to save 5-minute looping is going to actually be saved in 5 1-minute chapters. And GoPro does this so that if anything happens to the camera and you've recorded 3 minutes and something happens to the software, the SD card, the battery or something, at least you've already saved 3 chapters on the SD card. So let's see how that works. So GoPro starts recording, and it records minute number 1. The 1 second into minute number 2, the first chapter gets saved. Then it does 2, and as soon as the 3rd chapter starts, chapter number 2 saved. So then it records 3, 4, 5, but it also records what we call 5+1. So it starts recording 1 second to 59 seconds of the 6th chapter, and as soon as it starts on the 7th chapter, chapter number 1 gets deleted. So we always say always be recording, but GoPro is always recording and always deleting, so you have 5+1. So when the 8th chapter starts, it deletes number 2, and then you get 8, then you get 9 and 3 goes, 10 and number 4 goes. So you always have 5+1. So let's go ahead. It's been an hour. We've been out on the water. Not much been happening. We moved to a new location, and guess what? Boom, we caught a fish. Yay. So we show it to the camera, put it in the live well, release it, whatever we're doing. So now we've seen fish number 2, and then we immediately hit the shutter button. 1 beep, 3 beeps, 3 magic beeps. And now when you look on the front of the camera, you can see there's 2 5-minute loops on here. Again, the first test we did was a 42-second test, so it's less than 5 minutes, but the second one is a full 5-minute loop. So let's take a look at what that looks like, both on the camera and through the phone app. But we're going to start with the phone app on this test, and we'll tell you why in just a second. It really relates to GoPro trying to make it easier on a smaller screen. All right. Okay, so here's what the files look like on the GoPro, looking at them through the phone app. So you can see our very first fish we caught was 42 seconds long. And just as a refresher, we started that video around 2:29, and somewhere about 30 seconds later we caught our first fish. Yay. So then we hit the shutter button. It went beep, beep, beep. A number 1 appeared on the front of the camera. We saved this first 5-minute loop, which happens to be below 5 minutes. It was only 42 seconds. And then we immediately hit the shutter button. And an hour later, you can see from that 2:30 up until what's now chapter number 1 is 3:40. So there's an hour gap between those two, which is awesome. That's video we don't have to save on our hard drive. We don't have to scrub through that whole hour looking for the good video. We now know that we have 5 plus 1. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4, 5, and then a plus 1. And the plus 1 in this case happens to be 36 seconds. So let's take a look at the very last full minute, which started about 3:43. Nothing happened in that segment. And then we look at the last segment or the last chapter. We scroll through, and boom, guess what? So all the action happened in this 36 seconds. So eventually we'll just trash these other files, but for right now we're not going to do that on the phone app. Let's take a look at what all this looks like. So we have a total of 7 files. Let's take a look and see what that looks like on the GoPro itself, because it is actually going to look different, and here's why. So we swipe up to look at the video, and we touch the chapters, and look at this. There's a 42 second, which we 100% know about. But now here's just a 1 minute video, it looks like. And if you scroll up or down, there's nothing else there. Well, what's happened here is GoPro's tried to do us a favor. And this is actually the full 5 minutes. But it's a little confusing because we don't see all of them. But if you click on it, and then you scroll through, you'll see 3:40, and we get to the end, 3:42. And just wait a second, it goes to the second one for us. And again, we can scroll through that one, that's the second one. And then this is the third one. And this is the fourth one. And now you can hear me talking. And now here's the fifth one. And then finally, you'll look at the screen, and here's the 36 seconds. And guess what? That's when we caught the fish. So again, just to review, on the GoPro itself, it may seem a little confusing because it looks different than the app. 42 seconds was the first one, and all 5 plus 1 are located in this other file. Now let's take a look at it on the computer and see what we see there when we're doing our editing. So we'll take off the power door. We'll remove the camera battery because it's easier to get to the SD card. Let's go look. Okay, let's insert the SD card. And here it is on the desktop. We're going to open that up again. And again, just as a refresher, digital camera images, in the 100 GoPro. Now, if you look in here, again, it can seem kind of confusing because it seems like there's a lot of files. But the thing we always do is we're just going to select all the files, and then we're going to drag them to that folder we created. In this case, I'm going to replace them all because I know in this date I had already brought down the one video. So we're just going to put them all in that folder. And you can see it's copying right now, a total of 2.35 gigs, which is pretty cool because it could be a huge file if we actually recorded that entire hour. Okay, we're done copying. So now we're going to eject the SD card. And here's that SD card right there. So we know that all the files that happened in the day so far are all on this SD card. We're not going to be touching that. Okay, let's go ahead and open up the folder now. And the first thing we're going to do again is search by kind. And we are going to get rid of all the thumbnail and a low resolution video file. And again, if you felt more comfortable, you could put these in a folder and hold on to them for a little while. Then we're going to click on date modified. So the very bottom one here for refresher is that first fish catch, which was 42 seconds long. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. You can see the 5 plus 1, just like what we saw on the phone app. This is 339 megs, 339, 339, 340. So right in the same, these 5 chapters are all very similar in size. So again, we open that up and we started about 341. But wait, so we actually started recording after our last fish catch. We saved that, but we started recording at 2:30. But when we recorded fish number 2, we're at 3:41. So that hour gap in there is such a beautiful thing. You don't ever have to worry about all the extra hard drives you're going to have to buy just to put all this extra video on. You're only saving the good stuff. We also know, after looking at the phone app, that chapter number 5 had no action in it. And the 5 plus 1, or the 6th one, that's when we caught fish number 2. And so all the action was in that shot. So eventually, when we're really good at this, we can actually delete chapter 1 through 5 and just keep the plus 1. Most of the action usually happens in the last 2 chapters, which again makes it very easy. Sometimes we have customers pull up off the boat ramp, and while the boat is draining, they literally grab the action shots on their camera, upload that to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever social media that they're using, TikTok now, but any of those social media, and it's a very easy, quick, fast post that you can make because these segments or chapters are always 60 seconds or less, so they're ready for the Instagram and all that stuff. So let's go ahead. Now that we have a full handle on having the first segment or first chapter, first fish catch, and then we know now what it looks like to have our first full 5-minute looping, and it's a 5 plus 1. So let's put the SD card back into the GoPro and let's go for fish number 3. Okay, let's put the SD card back in the camera. Battery back in. Power door on. And of course, you don't have to take out the SD card every time you catch fish, obviously. Okay, getting ready to set up for test number 3. So again, 1080, 60, 5-minute looping. We're almost all set. So, just to recap, we did test number 1, test number 2. Test number 1 was a 30-second test. Test number 2 was a 60-minute test. And what that actually looked like out on the water was You put your camera on the Power Stick 53 or Power Stick 20, plug in external power, set up your looping, and then you just hit the shutter button. You start recording, lines in, 30 seconds, we caught our first fish. That's awesome. Show it to the camera, live well, or release it. Hit the shutter button. Beep, beep, beep. Number 1 appears on the screen. And that's awesome. We've got that first video saved. Then you hit the shutter button and you just go back to fishing. Lines in, 60 minutes. We caught fish number 2. We showed it to the camera. We put in live well, release it. Hit the shutter button. Beep, beep, beep. Now on the front of the screen is 2. That means 2 5-minute looping. Even though the first one was under 5 minutes, it's still the second looping. And we're ready to go again. So then we hit the shutter button and we just start recording. So once you get used to this, it's something cool happens, hit the shutter button, beep, 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 it saves it, hit the shutter button and start recording again. You just always be recording. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to catch another fish. Number 3. So this one's gonna be a 4-hour test. So we do a 30-second, a 60-minute, and a 4-hour test, and then you'll be very comfortable. So we hit the shutter button. And again, through the magic of television, we will see you in 4 hours. Okay, it's been a little over 4 hours now, and you always be recording is a really cool thing because you just never know what's gonna happen out on the water. So you don't want to have your camera off and then toggle it back on after something happens. You want it always recording, and that's what we're doing now. So a little over 4 hours, boom, catch a fish. I know it probably takes you much shorter to catch a fish than 4 hours, but me, that's what it takes. So we catch it, put it in the live well, release it, hit the shutter button, 3 beeps, 3 magic beeps. You guys are getting used to this now. So this is our 3rd 5-minute loop. Then we'll look at it on the camera, look at the gallery. And again, here's our original 42-second. There's the second 5-minute, test number 2. And now test number 3, the 3rd 5-minute looping. First one's 30-second. Second one is a 60-minute test, and now there's been over 4 hours in between these two. Let's take a look at it and see what it looks like on the phone. Okay, so now it might start getting a little confusing looking, but it's really not that bad if you just break it down like this. That's our first 42 seconds. Then we get 5 plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. And now you can see the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. And the last one is 19 seconds. So we'll take the second to the last and we'll scrub through there and see if there's any action. Nope, no action in that one. The very last one, that's our fish catch right there. But maybe something happened just before that. Maybe we're setting the hook, and maybe there's some other action shots that happen in here. But usually just the last couple of chapters are where all the action happens. Okay, let's take a look one more time on the computer and see what those files look like. Hopefully by now you're getting a little more familiar, a little more comfortable of what we should be looking at. Let's take a look. Okay, before we insert the SD card, I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of this folder. I'm going to create a new folder. And we're going to call this one 2020-0529 test looping number 2. I'm going to do this so that it has a blank folder. So this is a more simulation of exactly what it looked like when we come in from the water. So we have our SD card. Let's go ahead and insert. Bring it up on the computer. There it is. And inside, just like you've seen before, DCIM, 100 GoPro. We're going to select all those files. We're going to bring them down. And again, grand total of 4 gigs on this SD card is what would have been a 30-minute, 60-minute, and 4 hours. So 5 hours and 30 minutes out on the water. This would have been a huge file. We would have had to manage it, had to, buy extra hard drive space eventually to keep all that video. But we're only saving the good video, so it makes it much, much easier. And once that's down, then we'll eject the SD card. Again, we don't want to touch the videos on the SD card until everything's on a hard drive and it's all set up, and maybe we've even edited some video. We always recommend having at least 2 SD cards, one with video on it and one blank one ready to go into the camera. So you can carry that in your wallet or wherever you choose to carry it. Okay, so now we'll eject the SD card. Once again, there's the SD card. We're not touching it. Open up the folder. Hopefully you're getting really familiar with what we're going to do here. I'll open this up a little more. We're going to select by kind. We're going to get rid of all the THM, the thumbnail, and the low resolution video files. And we'll click on date modified. Okay, so you can see the very first video file that we created. That was the first catch, the one that happened in 42 seconds for fish number 1. Then we had the 5 plus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1. The second 5 plus 1, you can tell by the time. The last one here was 3:47 p.m. and the next 5 plus 1 started at 8:11 p.m. So from almost 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. for those 4 hours, all that video just went away because nothing exciting happened. Okay, so now we open up that. There's the 8:11. We'll open up the second to the last, just like we did on the phone app. Nothing happened exciting in that one.
That's what we're doing now.
And here it is, fish number 3. So I hope you're getting really comfortable of what we're looking at here. We do have some customers that will actually create a folder here and then put each fish catch separately into them. But here's what I'm going to do. So we know that on the first 5 plus 1, that those segments or those chapters right there, I'm just going to throw them away. Okay, and then we're going to take the next chapters, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1, and we're going to get rid of all the shots that had no action. Okay, now that we only have the good video, let's make a quick movie and see what that looks like. Let's just launch our video editor. We'll drop in video number 1, video number 2, video number 3, and check it out. It couldn't be any easier. We could add some transitions in between each one. And we'll scroll through. There's fish catch number 1, fish catch number 2, fish catch number 3. So we could add some music. We can make some really cool stuff. Just depends on how long you want to take doing it. We recommend going fishing and spending very little time editing, and looping is definitely the way to make that happen. Okay, let's take our SD card, put it back in the GoPro for the final test. Okay, we're going to put the SD card back in the camera. By now, there's many of you that are probably very comfortable where you're at and you're ready to do your own test 1, 2, and 3. But we're going to do one final test, a really long one. Okay, for our final test, we're going to do 20-minute looping. So we're going to change it. So you just click right here. Click on the pencil icon. go to interval up here, and we're going to change it from 5-minute to 20-minute. And up here is 60-minute, and the 60-minute and the 20-minute are very similar, and we'll go over that. So right now we're on 20. And we'll go back out. And here we are. So the last test is going to be a 12-hour test. So we're going to start recording and let that run all night long. And that's simulating a long day on the water without catching a fish. So here we are. Again, after we caught fish 1, 2, and 3, we hit the shutter button, beep, beep, beep. We got number 3 for the 5-minute looping. Now we've changed it to 20-minute looping, and we hit shutter to always be recording. See ya in 12 hours. Okay, good morning. It is almost 12 hours since we've been recording this last video, representing a very long day on the water without catching a fish. Boy, you guys are persistent. That's awesome. Okay, let's do it. Finally catch a fish. Yay. And we're going to show that to the camera. We're going to release that, put it in the live well. Hit the shutter button. Beep, beep, beep. 3 magic beeps. On the front of the camera, we have segment number 4. Now this one's just a little different. Let's take a look. We'll go to our gallery. Okay, so here's the very first video we shot, which was 42 seconds. Then we had a 60-minute test of 5-minute looping, and there's the 5+1 for that one. Then 4 hours of video of 5-minute looping, and that's the 5+1 up there. But now you'll notice that both these two 5-minute loopings say 1 minute, but now that we move to a 20-minute looping, you can see that the segment, each of the segments are now 5 minutes. So on the 5-minute looping, there's 5 1-minute chapters, 5+1. On the 20-minute looping, there are 4 5-minute videos, so 4+1, and then 60-minute looping is 12 5-minute videos, so 12+1. So 42 seconds, each one of those two are 1-minute chapters, and the 20 and 60-minute are 5-minute chapters. Let's take a look and see what that looks like on the phone. So here's our very first 42 second, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5+1. Then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5+1. And now we were doing the 20-minute looping, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, so 5-minute chapters plus a final 4, in this case 4-minute 33 seconds, and that one we'll take a look at it. That's where the action will happen at the end. There it is, fish number 4. That's in a nutshell the way looping works, guys. Once you get used to it, it makes it so much easier to quickly download and make videos. Well, that's it, guys. We hope this has taken all the mystery out of looping. So once you get your camera on top of your Power Stick 53 or Power Stick 20, you've got external power coming off your Navlight port, converting 12 volt into USB. You've got constant power. You got your silicone rainproof putty wrapped around it, keeping everything dry. You are all set to go. Now you set up looping on it, and all you do is hit the shutter button, or in this case has a voice command, GoPro, start recording. And you get out on the water. And then you catch that first fish, show it to the camera, you're so happy. It's just awesome catching a fish. I don't care if they're big or small. You show it to the camera, release it, put it in the live well, then you hit the shutter button or say, GoPro, stop recording. Those 3 magic beeps, you know you have the video saved. So what do? Immediately hit the shutter button or say, GoPro, start recording. Lines in, and you're right back out there. And it's not always a big fish that you capture. There's some crazy things that happen out on the water, and that'll capture that too because you're always recording. But 4 hours later, you show another fish to the camera, something crazy happens, whatever, put it in live well, hit the shutter button, or use voice command and say, GoPro, stop recording. Another video is saved. And what do you do again? GoPro, start recording. Always be recording. We're serious about that. And that's it. So we hope you get out on the water, capture all your adventures, and make it easier to share it by combining the perfect combination of YOLOtek, your camera, and looping. Have fun out there, guys, and don't forget, always be recording with YOLOtek. Thanks.